Hello, and welcome to the California Department of Food and Agriculture's 2025 Resilient Food Systems Infrastructure Office Hours Number 2, where we will review the application form. The RFSI 2025 application form is 4 pages long. Here you'll see the top of page 1. The first highlighted line shows the deadline to submit applications is July 17th, 2025 at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Applications will be accepted anytime between June 11th, 2025 and by 5 p.m. July 17th, 2025. Applications will not be accepted after that. The second highlighted line tells you where you can access the request for proposals or the RFP. It is recommended you carefully read the RFP. It offers a lot of helpful information. You will find it at www.cdfa.ca.gov/RFSI. The third highlighted line tells you where to email the application form for submission. Remember that with your application, you must also submit a quote, bid, estimate, or similar documentation. Email your completed application form and quote to grants@cdfa.ca.gov. You may hear the term concept proposal used in place of the application form. They mean the same thing here. Both terms are referring to the application form we are reviewing in this office hours. The fourth highlighted line is how you should format the email subject line when submitting your application. 2025 RFSI, and then your organization name. In this application example, the subject line would read 2025 RFSI, Candace's Cantaloupe Cottage. There is only one way to submit your application and quote, and that is by emailing them together to grants@cdfa.ca.gov. Applications submitted in any way other than emailing the provided application form will not be accepted. This is an example of the rest of page 1. Arrow number 1 is pointing to the applicant organization name. Here you will enter your organization's legal name as it is listed on your tax paperwork. Be sure to include any punctuation or suffix that is part of your organization's legal name. For example, Yokoyama Family Enterprises has a comma and LLC at the end of the name, so that is included in the name on this application. Please take the time to verify your organization's legal name before entering it. The next box should be filled out if your organization has a doing business as or DBA name. If your organization conducts business using a different name than its legal name, enter it here. In this example, Yokoyama Family Enterprises LLC is doing business as Candace's Cantaloupe Cottage. If your organization does not have a DBA, leave this box blank. Arrow number 2 points to the physical and mailing addresses. Please enter full addresses, the street number, the street name, the city, the state, and the zip code. If your mailing address is the same as your physical address, you can leave the mailing address box blank. If you have a mailing address that is different from your physical address, enter it here. For a physical address, please be sure to provide the address where the project will take place, that is, where the equipment will be installed, or for mobile equipment, where it will be stored when not in use. Arrow number 3 points to the contact information section. This section requires you to list 2 unique contact persons with different contact information. That means different names, different email addresses, and different phone numbers. If you only list one person or the contact information is duplicated, points will be deducted when scoring your application. The secondary contact should be an adult who will be able to get in touch with the primary contact in the case that we are unable to. This person can be a coworker, a spouse, a friend, or a neighbor, someone who will be able to reach the primary contact easily. Arrow number 4 points to the secondary contact. This arrow is to reiterate the requirement of 2 unique contacts, different people with different contact information. This is page 2 of the application. Arrow number 5 is pointing at the equipment information. This is where you describe in enough detail what the equipment item is and what it will be used for. In this example, the equipment item is an electric refrigerated van, and it will be used to distribute produce. Arrow number 6 is pointing at the description of equipment location. This must be completed for all stationary equipment. Since the requested equipment is a delivery van and vehicles are not stationary, this section will be left blank. However, if the requested equipment was a cooler being stored on top of an existing concrete slab, then the description would say, the cooler will be installed outside on an existing concrete slab adjacent to the cottage at 1220 N Street, Sacramento, California, 95814. Arrow number 7 points to the agricultural products to be processed with the requested equipment. In this example, the delivery vehicle will be used to distribute produce, but specifically cantaloupe, carrots, corn, cilantro, basil, garlic, onions, oregano, radishes, and dill. Be sure to list every commodity that the requested equipment will process, store, or distribute. However, you may group items into categories such as fruits, vegetables, and herbs if there are too many to list. Very broad categories such as food or crops are not acceptable. Arrow number 8 points to the total cost of the requested equipment. In this case, the total cost of the electric delivery van is quoted at $97,990.38. This amount is backed up with an official quote from a dealership that will be discussed on the next slide. The last box on this page requires your initials if the cost of the equipment falls between $100,000, the grant award maximum, and $200,000, the allowed equipment cost maximum. In this example, the quote amount is so close to $100,000 that I initialed in case the cost increases to over $100,000 by the time of purchase. By initialing, you are confirming you can and will cover any cost over the maximum award amount of $100,000 and up to $200,000. Note that the minimum grant award is $10,000 and the maximum award is $100,000. This means if the requested equipment costs less than $10,000, it is not eligible for this grant. Also note that if the requested equipment costs more than $200,000, it is not eligible for this grant, even if you can cover the cost above $100,000 yourself. This is a good example of an acceptable quote for an electric delivery van. Quotes should include the following: the vendor name, their logo, and their contact information. On this quote, the vendor is Morgan Hill Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or CDJR Morgan Hill, as reflected on the bottom left of the page. The equipment description must also be included, as well as a cost breakdown. Here you will see the vehicle described as a 2024 Ram ProMaster 3500 159 W8 high roof. Below that, you see several lines of descriptions, and it is indicated that they are all included in the price. The quote must have a total cost listed with each additional cost labeled. It is recommended that sales tax, delivery, required fees such as DMV fees, and/or reasonable installation costs are included in the quote. This way, the cost can be included in the budget and the grant award amount. Some related costs are not allowed, such as insurances, warranties with an additional cost, service contracts, or other contingency costs. If these costs are in the quote, they should be deducted from the budget and grant award amount. So if this quote had included $2,000 for a service contract, I should subtract that $2,000 from the total cost and list the cost as $95,990.38. Non-optional warranties or guarantees that do not include an additional cost are allowable. For example, some vehicle dealerships include a 90-day guarantee on all vehicles. Since these do not have an associated cost, there is no cost to remove from the budget. Here on page 3 of the application, arrow number 9 is pointing to the description of applicant organization. You have between 100 to 250 words to describe 3 things. 1, your organization. 2, the services it provides. And 3, the purpose of your organization. Be sure you describe each of these topics listed. An example is not given here because this section should be unique to your own organization. Arrow number 10 points to the acknowledgement section. This is where you enter your initials to confirm acknowledgement and agree with each of the 5 sections listed here. Please read each acknowledgement thoroughly before initialing. The first acknowledgement explains how your organization must meet Small Business Administration size standards for your organization's industry. The written link provided is correct. You may have to type it into your search bar as it is written. https://www.sba.gov/federal-contracting/size-standards/size-standards-tool. It will take you to the Size Standards tool where you can search details for your industry. Only organizations that meet the SBA requirements may apply. The second acknowledgement explains that projects involving ground disturbance are not eligible. This means that projects installing stationary equipment outdoors must install the equipment on pre-existing hardtop. For example, if a cooler is to be installed outdoors, it must be installed on a pre-existing hardtop, such as an already existing concrete slab. It cannot be installed directly onto the ground or the dirt, as that would be considered ground disturbance. Note that gravel is not considered to be a hard surface. The third acknowledgement explains that projects led by an organization or individual that has already received RFSI funding are not eligible for this round of funding, even if under another organization and/or unique entity identifier or UEI. The fourth acknowledgement explains that projects must have access to all resources and infrastructure necessary for the project at the time of application through either ownership or a current lease. If leasing, applicants must have the permission of the property owner to undertake the proposed project. For example, if a project is requesting a commercial juicer be installed in a warehouse, the applicant must have access to that warehouse through ownership or a current lease at the time of application submission. If an application is submitted and the warehouse is not yet secured through ownership or a lease, the application will not move forward in the process. The fifth acknowledgement explains that applicants selected to submit a grant proposal to USDA must work with CDFA staff to complete the more detailed grant proposal. This will require applicants to promptly respond to questions and requests. Refusal or inability to do so may result in the project being removed from consideration. By initialing these 5 boxes, you are acknowledging and agreeing to these statements. A note on nonprofit organizations. Nonprofits will be asked to submit evidence of their nonprofit status rather than of meeting SBA standards. Nonprofits can mark NA on this acknowledgement and should make it clear elsewhere in their proposal that they are a nonprofit organization. This is page 4, the final page of the application form. This is a 6-part question where you describe 1, the need for the requested equipment, 2, how the equipment will be used, 3, the impact the equipment will have on your organization, 4, the impact the equipment will have on California producers and processors, 5, include any individuals or organizations outside of your organization that will benefit from the equipment, and 6, how they will benefit. You have between 250 to 750 words total to describe each of the 6 topics this section is asking for. Be sure to address all 6. Again, there isn't an example of this portion because this will be unique to your organization. Here are some application form tips. Read each question thoroughly and be sure to address and answer each item with clear, concise answers. Review your answers before submitting your application to ensure they are clear, complete, and that they directly answer each question. Your application should paint a clear picture for the reader. Ensure the requested project budget and costs are reasonable and well researched. Costs requested must match the provided quote. Be sure to include the quote when you submit your application. Before submission, give your application to someone unfamiliar with your organization. Are they able to understand your organization's current activities, the type of equipment you are requesting, how it will be used, and the goals for the impact and the proposed project? If not, adjust your application before submission. Slow down and do not rush through the application. Once it is submitted, you are not able to resubmit it, so take your time completing each section and following the instructions. Lastly, please visit www.cdfa.ca.gov/RFSI and review the request for proposals, frequently asked questions, and questions and answers. These documents are helpful and they are searchable. Pro tip, while reading these documents, hold down the Control key and the F key at the same time on your keyboard, and a search box will populate. Then enter the item or term you are searching for to find relevant information. CDFA will hold weekly office hours between June 25th and July 9th, 2025 on the dates listed here. To view the office hour schedule or to register, please visit the RFSI website at www.cdfa.ca.gov/RFSI. CDFA has compiled a frequently asked questions or FAQ document, also available on the RFSI website. Finally, CDFA will conduct 3 rounds of Q&A to address general questions about the application process. The schedule is listed on the RFSI website as well as on this slide. Note that the deadline to submit questions will be July 11th, 2025 at 8:00 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Questions should be emailed to grants@cdfa.ga.gov. That concludes this office hours presentation. Thank you for listening.